What's up? I'm Joe Camosi, and I'm an independent researcher. I want to thank David Long for giving me the opportunity to say a few things on the topic of integral theory and what might be next, and to also allow me to finally introduce myself in a video after many years in the integral online community. So first off, I'm here to lend my voice in support of the work David's doing with his Integral 2.0 initiative. It's projects like these that I feel are needed to actualize the emancipatory potential of integral theory and bring about some necessary changes. I've studied integral for some 15 years and consider myself to be integrally informed, and over the years I've had a lot to say about the many good and useful things that have gone on in the name of integral, but I've also had some critique. And so those aspects of David's work that stand out for me are epistemic humility and responsible leadership, and being an authentic movement rather than selling products and services. And so, with these 2 points in mind, my own suggestions to the current integral spiritual commercial establishment would be: enough with the superhuman multi-level marketing that enjoins us to change the world while earning huge commissions. Enough with the integral sponsored motor oil or engine performance additive. And enough with the high-profile spiritual teachers with their mesmerizing state-inducing tactics who then leave a trail of the abused in their wake. Giving people initiatory state experiences without a robust set of ethics is a prescription for tragedy. All of these are a consequence of not thinking enough about ethics. Basically, I'm saying that the neoliberal soulcraft needs to come to an end. From the philosopher Dr. Cornel West, neoliberal soulcraft is wanting to be smart, wanting to be rich, wanting high visibility, and so by extension this includes wanting to be spiritual and evolved, wanting state experiences, all the while overlooking the ethical lapses and the ethical consequences. It's saying that the ends justify the means. It's a form of spiritual capitalism. It's capitalism colonizing spirituality. First it wanted your body, then your heart. Now it wants your soul. It's a Faustian bargain. So, neoliberal soulcraft. It's the ideology of the unrestricted accumulation of capital, financial, physical, mental, and spiritual capital, which threatens to enframe everything as standing reserve. In other words, turning everything into stockpiles of product of one kind or another with no independent value or being other than its usefulness for that ideology. It's a form of supremacy, and it needs to be brought to an end, ethically. And that's why I support efforts like Integral 2.0. Now, it's not that I embrace all 10 of David's declarations in his 10 Differences paper. Frankly, I'm either agnostic or can give him a pass on several of them. But it's the issues of responsible leadership and the ethics of commercial exploitation that are sufficient enough to me to warrant going in a new direction. Now, any collective enactment is going to have many lines: interpersonal, identity, cognitive theoretic lines, and ethical lines. I see a new enactment as upgrading one or more of these lines, and there's room to discuss what those lines are. And so, from my perspective, it's not necessarily a theoretical 2.0, but rather it's an experiment at establishing an ethical 2.0. And actually, I've been posting on this topic since 2011, where I wrote on the Integral Life Forum that they should get back to the fundamentals of 1, being an educational institution promoting integral meta theory, its application, and to showcase those who are using integral theory properly. And 2, establishing a kind of ethics board or certification function. But most importantly, I wrote that they needed to get out of the spiritual teaching business, to spin it off into a totally separate entity whose accreditation could then be granted or rescinded depending on what it actually did. But things remain blended, and so it may be too late to rehabilitate Integral the brand, as anyone can use the name to sell anything from coaching services to motor oil. The name's too damaged to have any broad appeal, in my opinion. So, I see David's paper as a declaration, analogous to Martin Luther's 95 Theses that led to the Protestant Reformation. When Martin Luther posted his theses, he wasn't advocating that everyone embrace a new paradigm. Instead, he was criticizing the selling of spiritual favors, indulgences. And so this isn't a theoretical debate over right bucks, but a judgment about how the existing institution has actually been showing up and what that means ethically. Now, in integral theory, we do have the concept of the basic moral intuition, or BMI, which can be stated as protect and promote the greatest depth for the greatest span in all four quadrants at the level you're able to access it. So each level or V-meme or culture, class, ideology, identity, or faction will have its own basic moral intuition. And so one faction's right bucks may be another faction's neoliberal soulcraft. And there's no way these opposing perspectives are going to reconcile at the same level where they started. And the integral community fractures along these lines of identity, which then creates a space for new communities and identities to form, which then also creates an opportunity for a different kind of relating between these now autonomous factions. And this relating between opposing or contradictory elements could potentially form the energetic core of some new emergent thing. This is totally natural. So, the great release finally comes to Integral itself. Here's a quote from Integral CEO Rob Smith's essay, Deeper into the Great Release. The good news, in some respects, is we know what a release does. It shatters connections and frees up innovation. We know how it operates. It destabilizes existing power structures. We know what it seeks, to return to higher resilience and better functioning hierarchies. And we know some version of what comes next. Chaos, innovation, experimentation, and reorganization to an emergent, higher form of better adapted organization. We may not know the exact form or details these things will take as it proceeds, but we do know the underlying mechanics that are at work. Break up control of resources, increase freedom and experimentation, and increase system agility. That's Integral 2.0 as I see it, as a kind of declaration of independence, a decolonization, a challenge to what the philosopher Habermas called the colonization of the life world. Okay, now a little bit about myself. I'm an independent researcher in philosophy and technology. My background is in engineering, electrical engineering, nuclear engineering, and 20 years experience in embedded software development. I've been studying integral theory since about 2005, and I've been participating with the Integral online community since 2011. My main area of interest in my own project is in meta-theory and meta-metaphysics, and I've developed an abstract model that can map the axioms or principles of other theories and domains of knowledge, including the integral AQUIL map. It's a model that transcends and includes AQUIL and goes far beyond it. This is essentially the rediscovery of an a priori philosophical language that can be used to describe or model any other system. This is what philosophers have been working on since Plato and Aristotle at least, and we can see evidence of this ongoing effort throughout history, from ancient spiritual languages to Renaissance magicians to the birth of modern science, including Enlightenment philosopher Leibniz with his Characteristica Universalis and Calculus Ratiocinator, which was his proposal for a universal language and a mechanism for calculating concepts, and which continued on with the invention of computers, programming languages, and the internet. This history has gone hand in hand with the advancement of technology, which also includes psychotechnologies like mass propaganda, advertising, and social media. This has been the great game of philosophy for thousands of years, and I also see integral theory as a continuation of this tradition. However, this great philosophical project, or magnum opus, is not without controversy. The philosopher Martin Heidegger asserted that technology was a culmination of philosophy itself. His criticism was that instead of revealing being, metaphysics was a technology that attempted to control being and so turn it into only what it could be for us, like a commodity, fit only for some human use, and framing us and everything else into standing reserve. In other words, technology has turned us all into information that can be processed and controlled, thus making the fulfillment of philosophy the victory of the will to power, power over being. And so, one might ask, is this quest for the Philosopher's Stone a Faustian bargain for power and control over being? Or is it a journey into the revelation of being? I've got the Philosopher's Stone right here somewhere. Where did I put it? Revelation of being or power over being? Maybe it's both. And we see this idea in myth, poetry, literature, and the movies as well. Here's a quote from Joseph Campbell. "The hero path. We have not even to risk the adventure alone, for the heroes of all time have gone before us. The labyrinth is thoroughly known. We have only to follow the thread of the hero path. And where we had thought to find an abomination, we shall find a god. And where we had thought to slay another, we shall slay ourselves. Where we had thought to travel outwards, we shall come to the center of our own existence. And where we had thought to be alone, we shall be with all the world." We can also see this theme play out in the movies. The Avengers series from Marvel Comics, the Infinity War and Endgame movies. In the movie, Thanos is in a mad search to obtain the 6 Infinity Stones so he can impose his will on the universe, which is his final solution to the problem of overpopulation, limited resources, and war. Here, the 6 Infinity Stones and Gauntlet symbolize the ultimate technology for power over being. Have I lost half my audience? Here, let me bring you back. And now that you're back, and in case you were wondering about the stones, what they symbolize can be mapped out and explained using my model. Consider, the 6 Infinity Stones symbolize 6 principles, and the gauntlet symbolizes the arrangement of these principles into a certain or special kind of topology. Now, in contrast to the theme of power over being, we have Philip Pullman's His Dark Materials trilogy, which is now an HBO series. In this series, the main character, Lyra, is given a golden compass, or a lithiometer, which is a device that, in the right hands, can reveal the truth of things. This is symbolic of the revelation or unconcealment of being, rather than power over being. Let's see now, where did I put that alethiometer? Here it is. Here, let's try something. Let me dial in Integral 2.0 and see what is revealed. I'm reading the symbols now. An act of daring and the right thing at the right time. And so in the end, metaphysics is about being able to read the book of nature, to reveal those principles that are salient, and thus see into the deep structure of things. This is one promise of an abstract meta-language. It's a set of perspectives that can facilitate the integration of body, mind, and spirit. And it's not just an abstraction, a set of alphabet blocks to play with. No. It's a highly psychoactive psychotechnology. It's counter-tech to be used to challenge the dark magic of our age. And so, in the coming months, I'll be starting a YouTube channel where I'll be sharing my research along with some practical applications. Thank you.